back. Okay. Going back to where I left off. Like I said, I'm going to be interfacing with the PokeApi. That's going to be my going back to my end tier discussion. That's going to be my data source. So I'm going to be interacting with that. Now, in interacting with this, I need to start off with creating objects that contain the data that I'm going to be getting back from the API or from the data source. Okay, so let's say, for example, I want to get a Pokemon, one Pokemon from this API. I need to actually have my manager, my middleware piece, set up to receive the information on a Pokemon. So that's what I'm going to be doing first, is setting up how to what data is in the Pokemon data. For this, you notice I went down to the Pokemon. So this is the object that if I were to query a Pokemon, this is the object I got back. So this is their example. They queried, like say for example, they queried Pokemon number 12. So they pulled number 12, which is Butterfree. It's got data on this Pokemon, so this is their sample data. And this is actually what pulls. It's not just like sample for sample, it's actually data that pulls on that Pokemon. Now, that being said, they also break down what the different pieces are of a Pokemon. Okay, so what I want to do is I'm going to actually, I'm just going to copy it for now, and then I'm going to build an object that contains this data in my program. Okay, so typically, as far as arrangement goes, at least in my experience, how we've been arranging it, I put my database information in its own separate folder. The people at work like to name it stuff like context and stuff. I like to be more specific than that, just for my use. So I'm going to do database. I mean, we could just leave it at database. This tells me that it comes from the database. Now in here, in the database stuff, I do want a folder named models, because the models are what the information is modeled up as. I don't know what else to say about it. Like what we're creating, this object that we're going to make that receives this data. This is a model, right? So the model will contain all these things for receiving information. So that's what we're building, is a database, a model for this data set. Okay, so in here I'm going to add a new class. I'm going to name it a Pokemon. I'm just going to name it Pokemon just because, and you don't have to match it for word here, but just because I want to match what objects I'm building, I'm going to name it the same as what they did. So I'm going to name it Pokemon just like they did. Okay, so I'm going to go here. I'm going to create that class. In that class, I want to make sure first and foremost that it's a public class. Now down below, because this isn't actual data, right now this is not code. I'm going to have to transfer this to code. So that's what I'm going to be doing here. Okay, so the first item, we don't need name, description, or type. Okay, this is copied really oddly. Interesting. Weird. Okay, so the first item we're going to do is we're going to create a public. We want all of our objects to be public. What we're going to be creating is the ID, which doesn't have to case match, but we're going to. It's an integer type, so that's an int. We're going to name it ID because that's what they named theirs. And then we're just going to do a simple get set. That tells it when you get data, or yeah, when there's data, get it and set it. The next object is a string. Okay, so it's going to be a string, public string. It's going to be name, and same thing, get set. So that one's gone. The next one is an int named base underscore experience. So we're going to name it the same. Public int base underscore experience. Yeah, no shit. Okay, so that one's there. The next one we're going to do is another int called height. So it's a public int height. I don't like their naming scheme on this API, to be honest with you. So typically when you have API variables, like you use camel case, not underscore naming convention, and whatnot. So I really struggle with that. All right, the next one, let's see, is default. So sets. Oh, I should be setting the. God damn it, I'm dumb. I'll come back to the first ones in a second. I should be setting the summaries while I'm doing this. So this one's a boolean. So public bool is default. I do a get set. I can type. Okay, we're going to start setting descriptions while we're here. So the summary for this one is set for exactly one Pokemon used as the default for each species. Now I would have to have more context to understand what exactly this description is telling me. Set for exactly one Pokemon used as the default for each species. So I don't know if that's talking about egg. I'd have to look. Let me pull that up and see what. So in their example, is default on Butterfree. Name ID. So ID. Let me scroll up. Is default true. So Butterfree is the base for all Butterfrees. I wonder if that just has to do with like the gender specific ones, like where they have a different form for each gender. Possibly. I don't know. I don't understand that description. I'd have to look more into it. But that's the description they give, so that's the description I'm using for now. So we use that one. Boom, boom. Okay, the next one. We should set these real quick. This is the Pokédex ID, I believe, for National Dex. This is their generic ID number that doesn't. It's unique. Name of the Pokemon. Base. Experience granted for defeating. No, Alolan and stuff do not get their own Pokédex number. So actually, if you look up real quick for me, Dia, if you could look up, say, Vulpix, we could look up Vulpix and see if he what the call gives us there. Height, Pokemon, height. There. Now, okay, so now we're caught up. Everything's got descriptions. Working our way. We still have a few of these to do, so let's keep working our way through them. So the next one is a public int, because it's an integer order. Get set. Okay, let me pull that back up. PokeApi. Pokemon, you said 37. Vulpix. Okay, ability is hidden. Forms. It shows 2 Vulpix, 2 keys. Where is that? Why did it not give us? Oh, here we go. ID is default true. how do we get the other alternate form? Species. There is a form. Like let's query this. V2 Pokemon form 37. Boom. This is where we're gonna see. I don't know, default true. What? Why is that still showing true? Is there ever a case where it doesn't show true? Form order 1 ID 37 Pokemon 2 Vulpix. Sprites 8 gives you keys, blah. Where's the Alolan Vulpix? Red, blue. That is interesting. Why does that look like it's a different return? ID 12. We did ID 12. Pokemon. Yeah, I don't see a second return for the Alolan. I would have to look at more into the actual query itself to see. Going back to building my object though, since that's what we were working on. We'll come back to how to get the alternate versions when we get there. So order, this is order for sorting. Yeah, I don't know why it does the Bulbapedia link there. Almost national order, except families are grouped together. So this order, it looks like they group the families together, specifically ones that probably are split via generation, like the evolutions, because in the national decks, they're not grouped together, but this order, it looks like they've set them together. So that's what this one looks like it is. Public int weight. Get set. This is the weight of the Pokemon in hectograms. Never weighed anything in hectograms before. That's interesting. Next is, now this is going to cause problems because I don't have the object built yet. This is a list of objects called Pokemon Ability. So you're going to do a public list, and that is going to be Pokemon Ability. If I can spell ability. There we go. And we're going to name it abilities. And that's going to continue to throw an error until we actually build the object called Pokemon Ability. So no matter what, until we build that object, it's going to be an error, in an error state. That's going to, we're just going to leave that be. We'll get to that object when we get that far down. And then we'll just work our way through different objects until we have them all up that we need to have. Okay, so this is a list of abilities. This Pokemon could have. Boom, boom, boom. Okay. We'll get rid of that. Alright, the next one is forms. And this is also another one of those where we're going to have to build another object to finish it out. So public list. This list is of objects that are called named free API resource. So again, we'll have to create those objects later. I don't think they have an IT or TI or whatever in it. Oh fuck, I can just click it. Forgot that I can just click it. Screw that shit. So this one's a super small object, but it is not of TI, so I can't inject the type into it. So in this, where it says PokeForm, I'm going to have to fix that later to pull the PokeForm from the URI. which is fine. Anyway, this is called forms. This is where probably I'm going to get my data from my different forms. I bet you if I queried Vulpix, that's where that would be. A list of forms this Pokemon can take on. So let's go ahead and go back to that. I bet you this answers my question about the Vulpix. So if I go down here to Vulpix works. Did I spell Ninetales wrong? Same thing though, it doesn't pull me the... Interesting. Anyway, going back to... there's that. I might have to... their display might be messed up. Their front end might not actually display what it should. So maybe that's the case. Public, this is going to be a list of version game index, which again, we'll have to create the class for it. This is going to be game underscore indices get set. Yeah, can't type, save my life. A list of game indices relevant to Pokemon item by generation. I'm writing a middleware piece. So I don't know if you caught, you probably missed the first part of the video and stuff. So the context idea is that for this video, I'm kind of tackling a situation where at work, we've had people apply for the job, but they horribly fail the test. Not just like a little bit, but horribly fail the test. And a lot of it boils down to they don't understand end-tier design or architecture. And as a result of that, they one of our main requirements, which is building a Restful API, they don't build a Restful API because they don't understand end-tier development, so they don't. So they're not making it for something to hit for a front end to hit this via API calls. So what I'm doing is I'm using this API page that I'm showing you. That's going to be my backend piece or substitution of a backend piece, my data software. This I'm building a middleware piece with the Swagger interface, which can be hit by a front end piece. So, because like it's easy to do front end work. It's super easy to do front end work because really, I mean, it's just basic web design. And one of the things that people run into with schools is that they don't really have you design in any kind of end-tier architecture. They talk about it, but then they have you build single programs that do all three stages, which is not, I mean, it's not good for people in school to learn that because in the industry, they'll never use it that way. They need to have the ability to build a back-end piece separate from a middleware, separate from a front-end piece. So that's kind of what I'm tackling here with this. And that's what this series is going to be for my YouTube. So that's kind of the goal here. Now, what I'm writing is I'm writing this middleware piece, this manager, to be able to, well, for right now, I'm setting it up to get Pokemon data. What we do with it, we'll figure that out when I get to, what I'm doing with the controllers. So when I get that far, I'll be like, well, if we want to pull a Pokemon, what data do we want about that Pokemon? Where is it going to come from? Am I going to have to make multiple calls to get the lists of abilities that they could have? Is it going to be a separate piece of the interface? What's going to go on there? So we'll get to that point when we get to the controller side. For now, I'm just creating the pieces that collect the data from the data software, the backend software. if that makes any sense. I don't know. Am I explaining that in a way that makes sense, or am I like totally not making sense? Yeah. Well, it's not just my database, it's actually the data software, because like in N-tier development, your database is its own entity, and your data software interfaces with that database. So, like, you don't, from your manager, from your middleware, you wouldn't interact with the database itself. You interact with the software that is designed to gather data and format it to pass back to your middleware. Yeah, and then we figure out how to present it later. Yes, exactly. That's what we're doing. So yeah, this is my. Well, we're not even to the logic bit yet. We're just at the data gathering stage. So this is the data that I'm going to be gathering from my data software, which is that website. Come on, held item, held underscore items, get set a list of items. So I don't know if you've seen my new YouTube channel. I started a Zyrist Codes data YouTube channel. The goal of this is the goal of my channel is to be a resource for people who are in the industry or want to get into the industry, or like just finished school and want to get into the industry, because as it stands, like I said, we've had multiple people apply. We've had multiple people apply, but none of them have the base understanding that they should have coming fresh out of college. One of the guys graduated like last quarter or whatever, and he has no idea what he needs to do to to do the test. So, like, it's frustrating to me that this is like people don't understand. So that's what I'm doing here. The goal of this is to create a context that lets people see what it is that's expected, or get some context into actual application of work of industry-based concepts in a sample setup. I could actually walk through our test and show people how to do our test, but that doesn't really help much either. Yeah, I don't blame you there. So yeah, that's what's going on here. Is like I'm just trying to be a resource for people who want help or want to get into coding. As you saw with me, like I know what it means to code. I know what it means to be a programmer. I didn't have a resource to get started. And yeah, it's called Zyrist Codes. And like what help I got from you actually got my foot in the door enough that I could get started, and like my experience is just blown up from there. So I kind of want to be that for other people. Like I I remember how frustrating it was for me, like wanting to be a professional coder, having no resources available to me, having no friends that knew what they were doing, having no communities to be part of that to get me in the door. I even joined multiple Facebook groups that are supposed to be for coders or help with coding, and a lot of it's like, well, just get good. And it's like, yeah, I get the same advice playing League. That doesn't help me at all. So that's kind of like what I want to do with this. That's my goal. Is I want to be able to be a resource for people who don't have resources, or be something for somebody who's like, this is something I want to do, but I just don't know where to start. Or I don't know how to start. So that's why I'm doing this, and why I'm kind of going through like what to expect with a job test or job interview test, because like these are things that people look for, and yeah, it's specific to my career path, but it's also what a lot of people in this career is going to do is going to be looking for. Yeah, the no, do it this way instead. I don't like that. There are reasons for that to be the case sometimes, but like there are ways to do stuff. There are multiple ways to do stuff. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Yep, yep. I agree 100%. Like knowing why is way better than knowing what. Like there's a reason why I'm setting this object up the way I am. And it's because it's mostly efficient. I have summaries. Like if I were to pull, if I were to go into my controller and have this object there, I could actually see what these things do. There are other ways to do it. There is a way to link it direct. Well, not in this case. I couldn't link it directly via the website. But if I had the SQL Server database, I could link directly to the SQL Server database, and then I would never know what my variables are, and I don't like that. So yeah, there are multiple ways to do things, and the more I learn about coding, the more I learn that hey, there's more to learn. So like as my knowledge base expands, like I feel like the percentage of what I know is shrinking because I learned that there's that much more to learn. Yeah, yeah, and like I know that I don't know all the different ways to program, like, and I'm okay with that. Like I'm okay with understanding that I don't know all of the ways to program, but on the same note, I'll never know all of them. So that's a fact I have to get used to. And like there's a guy that I work with. He's been a programmer for 10 plus years, and even like every day he learns something else. It's like, wow, that's more efficient or more useful. So like that, just understanding that is important. Yeah. When I was interestingly, when I was doing my test for the position, there was a guy that dropped in and showed me how to do stuff that I didn't know how to do, and it was really awesome. So that's fun. What variables? That's dirty language. Public variables. This dirty language. These have to be public because they will be called elsewhere. And the brilliant thing about this is if there was any of these fields that you didn't want, you could just exclude them. Just not use them. I might actually do a lot of the work on this too outside of the stream, because like you don't need to watch me build every single object, though I don't think it would hurt if I did that. I just don't think you need to watch me build each of these objects that Pokemon move, the Pokemon sprites, especially when they're right here to see what they are and do that. So maybe I won't. Maybe I'll just do that off stream. I'm gonna build all these objects off stream, and when I get that done, I'll set up my next video. For now, I do need to shut down the stream and get some chores done. And then, like I said, this is a good cutting point anyway, because I got to cut my YouTube video here.